Hi, I'm your host, Steve Turney.
And hi, I'm the guest, Janet McDonald. And today we're going to talk about why mental health is not something you need, but something you deserve. And how do you unlock your future capacity?
This is a great conversation with Janet. Let's go. All right, welcome to The Boost, conversations with people promoting mental health. And I'm delighted to be here today with Janet McDonald from OnSite, the CEO of OnSite. Janet, how are you today?
I am doing great, and it's super excited to be here. What a cool studio.
It is a neat studio. We get to use it every few Fridays, and we get to record and talk to people like you, which is a delight. But my brother says a thing. He says, you build your house, and then your house builds you. And so, you know, at OnSite, you have a dialed-in podcast studio. And this is episode, I don't know, maybe 73, 74, something in that range. And the first 30 we did just home rolled out of my office, you know, a low-grade camera and low-grade audio, my AirPods basically. And now we get to do it in here, which does add something. And it adds something to be in person with you too.
That's right. It's great. So thank you so much for having me.
For sure.
So it'll be fun.
And we got to see each other recently at the
NATAP. That's right.
Yeah, bumped into you there. You were doing some speaking.
That's right. More speaking than I intended to do, but yes.
That's right, yeah. Miles had a little bit of uncontrollable travel.
That's right, and asked me to step in. So he called me at 6:30 in the morning and said, I can't get there, so can you step in?
What did that feel like, having to step in at that moment? Is that old hat for you? You ready just to rock a stage, or was that some emotion
No, I'm not
involved?
ready. No, I'm not naturally that ready, but thankfully we're very aligned in our thinking, and so he sent me his presentation. I added a little bit of my own, and I think it went well. It was fun. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, there's a lot to talk about with you and what you bring to OnSite and what you all are building and have over there, which is incredible. It's really a delight. But before we do all that, there's two questions that we start with. So there's the virtual hug and the shameless plug. And that'll get us into the conversation. So the virtual hug is, tell us somebody or something you're grateful for today.
Honestly, I would have to say I'm super grateful that next Wednesday I get a 10-day trip to Spain and Portugal. And I'm super looking excited to that.
Oh, my goodness. Have you been there before?
I have not.
What's taking you there? Is it work or fun?
Just fun.
Oh, can you say anything else about the trip? What's going to happen? Why are you going?
Well, just going for fun. It must be the place to go this year because every time I say I'm going, people are saying, oh, yeah, I've been, or my friend is going, or my friend has been. So we're starting in Porto and then Lisbon, and then we'll go to Porto, and then we're going to Barcelona.
Okay. Okay. Barcelona. I want to get to Barcelona. I studied Spanish in high school in Southern California, so I got pretty fluent.
Yeah.
Like I got to the point where we read Don Quixote in the colloquial Spanish.
Oh my gosh.
But you really learn Spanish on the soccer field.
I'm sure you do.
That's where I really rounded out the language. But then I'm a little bit rusty. So do you speak Spanish or?
No, I also took Spanish, but likely in middle school. And the only thing I can do is maybe count to 3.
Okay.
Anymore?
Okay. Well, you'll come back. You'll come back with some of those skills dusted off.
Maybe so.
Yeah. Formula One does a race in Barcelona. I don't know if you
gosh.
follow much of that car racing stuff, but yeah, they do it in the best places, Monaco and, Dubai and all these beautiful places, Montreal. I'd love to just get to the point where I just follow F1 around. Like that's my dream.
That's right.
Just show up for the race on Sunday.
That's great.
Everywhere around the world. Well, that's a lovely virtual hug. Tell us your shameless plug, which is tell us what you do. You're the best person to talk about what you're doing at OnSite.
Great. Thank you for that. I'm going to say that I have the best job ever. At this time in my career, it is super fun to be doing something that is meaningful and seems to matter in the world. So OnSite is almost 47 years old. It's been around a long time. Started out with sort of workshops. And then in 2013, we added residential. Last year, we added intensive outpatient and a group practice and business consulting. So we're doing all of that really for the purpose of serving more people and helping them in their transformational journeys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are making a true impact, I believe. And I have to thank you at the outset here for sponsoring Reggie D. Ford to come to the Mental Health Marketing Conference and speak on opening night. It's going to be
great.
It's going to be quite an evening. We have some magic planned. We just booked the 5th.
Do you have Harris coming?
I wish. No, it's well, we also have an amazing one, but I love Harris. But his conference, Story Conference, is like right on one bookend or the other of our conference in October, or I think he's probably covered up, but maybe next year. But this person named John Midgley, who is I think he's he's a licensed clinician. I forget exactly what, MFT or social worker, and he's also the president of, I'm going to get it wrong, but like the American Magician Association. Gosh. And he was in here on our podcast, blew my mind. Like I was closer to him than I am to you right now, watching like a hawk. And he did things with playing cards that I still can't figure out. And I've watched it back, and it was truly like it was magic. Well, he has a way of doing it, but for me, it was like, oh wow. So.
Isn't that great how we all still love magic?
Yeah. I think it speaks to that Jungian sort of child within us, the wonder and the mystery. And that's what John talked about on the podcast, was we do have these kiddos inside us, and it's amazing when you can unlock them and let them dance or let them sing or let them just experience this world that's, still incredible.
That's right. That's a lot of what we do too, is reconnecting our clients to who they really were and have forgotten over the years for whatever reason, emotional trauma, things they've been going through. And so reconnecting to who they really are is a critical part of it. And part of that is remembering that there's a child in there still, and honoring that child. So it is magical to watch too. That's
beautiful. If you don't mind to say a little bit more about whether it's the modalities that you're working with or the different kind of programs you've put together, and is there a certain type of person or a certain type of situation that seems to be drawn to OnSite or benefit most from OnSite? I know you help lots of people in lots of different situations.
Yeah. Well, it depends really on sort of the level of emotional trauma acuity. So if you have severe acuity, likely makes sense for you to go into our residential, 30, 60, 90 day, working with some of the best therapists around, and really unpacking in safe and secure ways what's in your way, what's blocking you, but then also moving you forward from that. And so milestones, most people stay at milestones about 45 days and leave visibly different. Our staff always comments on, you see them on the day they come in and you see them on the day they leave, and it is truly a different person. And then if you have not quite that level of acuity, but you have a lot of trauma, you might benefit from our Healing Trauma Workshop, which is 6-day workshop, and really is 6 months of therapy in 6 days, really focused on trauma. We also have the Living Centered, which is our marquee program and our oldest program, which really we say is for the walking well, but it is for people who have reached a block, as most people do, either in their relationship, their parenting, at work, and they really need extra help to get through that block. Living Centered's a perfect program for that. If you can't do our residential or healing trauma because you're working, our IOP is perfect for that because it's at night, 3 nights a week, gives you a lot of support. And you're working in a group, and the feedback on our IOP is it really changed my life, and that's true of most of our programs. So all of them are really designed for different individuals depending on where they are and what's happening in their lives.
Yeah, and I love that in terms of the acuity that we're getting I think generally a lot better about saying this isn't simply for high acuity. We also benefit so much from living centered, coached lives with, clinical rigor and the right, a most amazing therapist guiding you. And it doesn't have to simply be, to overcome massive challenges. It can also be for, taking us to that next level.
That's absolutely right. Miles often says, who is our owner, says that it is not something you need, it's something you deserve. And that we really should think about our emotional health like we think about our physical health. And so you need a tune-up. And that tune-up could be in a variety of different forms, but we should take as seriously our mental health as we do our physical health. And the stigma of mental health is not all the way gone, but is certainly diminished over the last 10 to 15 years. And so people are recognizing that it is really a benefit to you. And if we can become better humans, we can become better partners, better leaders, better parents. And so taking the time to work on yourself is critical.
Yeah, that's beautiful. We saw this with my grandma with breast cancer, a long time ago. It was like stigmatized. You don't talk about it. And anytime I see something that is, you don't talk about it, there's things festering under that bandage.
For sure.
And so you can also talk about things too much, of course. Like, like the TikTok clinicians, you can swing the pendulum too far.
That's right.
However, that's not to say, well, we should stop talking about certain things. And so, especially with the guide or that guru to see you through, that kind of hero journey for yourself and to face the cave,
That's right.
the cave you fear holds the treasure you seek kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's scary to look it in the eye. It's scary to say it out loud. And helping people do that it almost sounds so simple, and it's so hard.
It is so hard. I think about it often like people's avoidance of difficult conversations. The thing that makes it difficult is the fact that you're not having it, or you're not having it with the person you need to have it with. When we think about taking that emotional journey, it seems hard. But very much like after you have that difficult conversation, there is such freedom and release if you're willing to go through that, and so much beauty. And it really sets you up for being able to move from and accept. It doesn't mean agree with what happened to you, but the ability to accept what happened to you allows you to move forward with lots of possibilities. Versus I resent what happened to me and I'm stuck in that resentment. That's going to lead to resignation, as if you can't do anything about it. And so really taking the time to dig in sets the foundation for you to move forward in ways that you couldn't even imagine.
Yeah. I mean, clinging to the past holds us to that spot.
That's right.
And there are lots of people with, a range of experiences, ACEs and everything
That's
in between. Right. And, I have a daughter who's 10, and I can tell you not a single ACE. And I say that with a lot of humility and a lot of emotion, actually, because there's lots of people that have different experiences.
For sure.
But to be able to set that concrete, those first 5-10 years, I know what that means. And there's an uncontrollable element of our youth and our past that we as much as we want, we can't go back and change it. That's but right. we can move forward and sort of release on the resentment or the victim nature, at least speaking from my experience when I engaged with an LPC here in the Brentwood area in Nashville and started to look inside. Yes, things have happened. What are you doing, Steve?
That's right.
That's when we really started to clean the mud out.
That's right. There's a saying, everybody's guilty and nobody's to blame. Our parents did as best as they could. Their parents did as best as they could. But where are we willing to, break the cycle and live in a different way? And parenting is one of the hardest things, for sure. At OnSite, we joke, and it is a joke. are we all already investing in a scholarship for our children to come to OnSite when they need to? So I understand that it is incredibly hard to parent well, but if you can do it, it's fabulous.
Yeah. I mean, it's the hardest job you'll ever love. Again, my brother told me that he has 3 kiddos, and so my wife and I started later to have kids, and he gave me that word of wisdom and warning.
That was great.
And he was right.
I have a daughter I adopted from Russia when she was 10 months old. So she's now 23.
Oh, wonderful.
And is actually getting her graduate degree in drama therapy.
Oh, amazing.
And is now suddenly really interested in OnSite and what do we do?
Now, I don't know much about drama therapy.
So drama therapy is really using drama as a therapeutic modality and works, as you can imagine, really well for children with different learning styles, works really well with adults with disabilities. Mm-hmm. The prison population is adopting a lot of drama therapy. And also retirement homes are doing it. And so it has its foundation in psychodrama, but also using a lot more theater and components of that in therapy.
Well, all the world is a stage. You know?
That's right.
And sometimes, sometimes the fiction has all the truth in it. Like sometimes being able to get outside of yourself or embody another character is maybe, I don't know, I'm kind of projecting what it might be like, only based on my mother-in-law, who's a play therapist and a sand tray.
Oh, yeah.
So she has these kids do these figures in the sand tray, and it's basically like uncovering the subconscious that moment, and she's very certified in that. She's gone to, I think, Wyoming or Montana, like she just came back from London for some art therapy to add to that. And so there's these creative expressions which are often connected to the darker side of us, perhaps, or what might be called the shadow side, or just, there's sort of STEM, there's like the math and the objective, all of that, and the business and the money. And then there's like, there's some of these other elements that maybe get outside the perimeter of where our focus is, but maybe that's where some of the truth is lying.
That's right. And sort of the freedom and safety to release it in those different modalities, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
Which is great.
That's wonderful. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We will be right back with much more from Janet McDonald. At Turn Productions, we craft experiences that connect, engage, and inspire. From dynamic conferences to powerful storytelling, we bring ideas to life through planning, production, and promotion, so your audience doesn't just listen, they remember. Ready to make an impact? Let's build something unforgettable together. Visit turn.productions to get started. All right, we're back with more from Janet McDonald. We were just talking before the break about OnSite, and then during the break, we were starting to talk about OnSite's marketing and branding, which has really caught my attention of late. I've always held your brand with high respect and still do, but the marketing seems to have gone just a more sort of creative storytelling route lately, at least what I see on Instagram and other places. Could you tell us about sort of how that flows maybe from Miles, but also just the organization as a whole? What do you all think about and do when it comes to marketing?
Yeah. So I think the foundation of everything we do for marketing really does stem from Miles and Miles' strong belief. So Miles went through treatment himself. And when he left, he said, gosh, I've learned so many new tools. This should really be available to everyone. And he really wanted to send a message out into the world that made it approachable, that was less scary and seemed more in tune and aligned with individuals' lives. And so he really started using terms that were not as clinical in nature, that were really approachable by everyone. Last year, we had the good fortune of having 2 individuals join our team who have massive experience building bigger brands, bigger places. And we do have a good brand, and everybody thinks we're much larger than we are as a result of that, I think. And what we said to them is we want to bring this to life in a different way. We really want it to be compelling. We really want to tell more stories. We really want to showcase our philosophy and how we think about things. And they have done a fantastic job bringing it to life. And of course, Miles is part of the script building and the delivery, but so now are a lot of us who are involved in that. And it's fun for all of us, and it's nerve-wracking, and it's a great learning for all of us, I think.
What's the nerve-wracking part?
You're afraid you're going to say the wrong thing at the wrong time, or you're not going to seem as natural as you should on film, or that you're going to get tangled in your words. So I think it's that, but our marketing team is also exceptional at getting you comfortable and saying you're doing great and giving you a lot of really good feedback.
That's big.
Yeah.
Episode 1 for me of this show was really hard. I think the opening line to the guests was, and she was a friend, so I threw myself a softball, but it was like, if I were you, I would be saying I wish he had prepared more. Like I was kind of like almost frozen in the moment, like what am I doing here? And we went from there, and now putting in the reps and having people say, like, I got a message this week or last week from somebody I do not know on LinkedIn, and she just said, hey, you've got a great way of communicating on your podcast, and your guests are really wonderful, and I just keep it up. Like, what?
That's
like
amazing.
That is so nice, that it's resonating with one person out there.
That's right.
And we've seen it grow. It's slow growing, but that's good. Like, that's fine with me for the boost, because this was really a channel that came out of the need for us to have something to say week by week, and not just at the conference once a year. We would do the conference, and then we would go dark because it's hard to do. And so we started an email that goes out every other week. And then it's a question of what goes in the email if you're going to deliver on this promise. That's and it's like, we're surrounded by experts. Like, let's not make it about us. So it's an opportunity to put people like you in our little spotlight, and it keeps growing. So it's fun to do.
I feel fortunate to be here, so thank you.
Oh, well, that's great. It's great to connect with you. You've got great experience, and I'd consider myself like a polymath, or sort of a Renaissance individual. Like, I love to look across, and you have been a professor, you have been a consultant at high level businesses, and you're running, CEO of a company. You've lived agency life within, marketing. What would you recommend to somebody, starting out their career, and what's your recommendation in terms of focus versus diversity when it comes to career experience?
Yeah, I think it depends on what you want to do. Having taught at Vanderbilt, there were very much students who were on the financial track, and that's a pretty particular track. And there were other individuals who were on the consulting track, and by that I mean they really wanted to get under their belt, significant years of consulting and then switch to business. I never had that as a focus. So for me, my focus in my career was, what do I want to learn, and where's the best opportunity to learn it? And so that has afforded me the opportunity to have a vast array of experiences, and I've learned from all of them. I feel like the CEO role at OnSite is uniquely enabling me to kind of bring all of that together in a way that I wouldn't have had the opportunity, I don't think, if I didn't go to OnSite. And it's different every day, and it's unique. Before I took the job at OnSite, I met with Miles' father, who is a strong advisor for him, and he said, there are a lot of feelings there. And I'm like, okay. And he said, no, there's a lot of feelings there. And he was talking to Janet, the consultant, I think, about the feelings there. But I have very quickly learned that really is the superpower of the team of OnSite, is the feelings there.
Feelings from if we can call it like company culture, what are the feelings? How do the feelings drive, or where do the feelings show up?
I think at OnSite it is really true that you cannot leave your whatever else is happening in your life at home.
Okay.
That's fool's folly. And so you do bring it in, and we are 100% okay with any emotion, but we are not 100% okay with every way every emotion is expressed. There are limits, there are ways of doing it, but recognizing that all of our team members have a lot going on in their lives, all of them are feeling the emotions, and allowing space for them to have those emotions and still do their job.
Say a little bit more about this, because this could become the theme of this podcast. Like this is the gold mine right here. We just stumbled into the cave that we fear as employees, walking in with our incentives, which come from the company oftentimes, and the need for work-life balance and bracketing off our life from our work life from our personal life, or things like that. How in the world do you go about setting up a system or a place that allows for emotions to be brought in wholesale into the company?
Yeah. I think the first thing is to stop and recognize that the number one thing we all want is to feel seen, heard, and valued. And then to recognize that people can't leave their emotions outside. So they are bringing them in, and the inability to get them out is really locking the capacity of the team. And so when you think about an organization and you think about 75% of strategies are never executed, it's not that the strategy is bad, it's that the team is not committed to the strategy. And so if we can't unlock the emotions of the team, if we can't have robust dialogue and debate, if we can't say, I want to hear your emotion, but this is your work, not our work, and we don't move from hearing the emotion to overly taking that on, but recognizing it's impacting them, recognizing that they may need a moment, and then allowing them to have it, frees up their capacity to then participate more actively. And so we strongly believe in all of that and the recognition that that's happening. And so we have discussions about trust in our organization, and what does that mean? And that's a huge word. And so how do we define trust, and what does it mean that you're not trusting right now? How do we have robust discussions without taking it personal? What really is the point of the discussion? How do we get your commitment? We recognize that even Miles and I as leaders, we're going to disappoint everybody. It's going to happen. And we're not going to do everything 100% right. But we really want committed team members. And so if we have team members who don't want to be there, as much as we hate to say it, what we are now saying is, tell us that and let us help you get you where you want to be.
Yeah.
Versus staying here unhappy. And thankfully, that's very small group of our team members. But just the recognition of all of that is going on in an organization. We started our consulting division for that. All of the companies are really focused on mental health now through EAPs or trying to get their HR people to focus on that. But what they're missing in that is the team dynamics created as a result of everybody having those emotions or having that acuity from the outside world.
Yeah.
And so we come in and try to have very, not deep therapeutic work, but deep discussions around how do we work better together? How do we allow that freedom?
Yeah. And this is a little bit of an aside off of that, but there's this theme lately I'm seeing in marketing where it's like, well, companies are not families. Like, stop calling companies families. And I agree.
That's
like,
right.
I agree. However, there's also like you can see internal family systems dynamics coming through, and it's
For
like,
sure.
and plus, like, there's the weird uncle, you know, or, or oh, they came in with the baby, and the baby is not a baby. It's like it's themselves, or the problem that they're, bringing into the workplace that is like, oh, this is maybe better dealt with in other places. So there's a range of dynamics and feelings and emotions, and you're saying these emotions are walking in the door, whether you're aware of them or whether you find out later that this is a Trojan horse who looks like an employee and then unpacks their emotions, or worse, kind of keeps it suppressed.
That's
And,
right.
what we resist persists, as Jung says. So it's like, good luck keeping that under the surface.
That's
but
right.
you're providing a place for emotional vulnerability and emotional leadership, really setting the tone for employees and everybody to say, yeah, this is how I'm feeling. This is part of my life. Where do you kind of help them, let's call it unmasking some of that, or unsuppressing some of that? Like, where's the boundary on the other side of that, where it's like, you don't have to share everything about your whole entire life all the time before we start this meeting? Like, what's the counterbalance of that?
Yeah. So typically the counterbalance is what do we have to do? So I think in corporate America we have done our team members a disservice. We've done our leaders a disservice by creating a parent-child relationship.
Yep.
And we fail to recognize that everybody is co-creating the environment together. It's not top leadership that is creating the environment. We are co-creating this. And holding our team members accountable for the results of what the company is doing and whatever the company results are creates some anxiety for them, for sure. But the anxiety drives action. And so we really tend to believe that our employees are walking freedoms that have a choice. They can be here, and if they want to be here, then they're going to be a part of the organization, and as a part of the organization, they're going to know the good and the bad and the ugly, and they're going to need to take accountability for creating this environment. And so what can they do to help? What can they do to be a part of? And when the emotions carry too far, then we say, this seems like your own work to do,
Yeah.
not our collective work to do. But if there's collective work to do, then we need to address that.
I was working on some kind of, it's probably going to be a LinkedIn post, is because that's what I do, is I make LinkedIn posts. But I'm working out this idea, which is like very Adler, which is like maybe the number one job of work is to decide if this is your work or not.
That's right.
That's
right. And when you said work-life balance a minute ago, to me, that's also that's just not possible.
Yeah.
And I personally don't want that. What I want is a beautiful tapestry of my work and my life. I want my life to feed my work. I want my work to feed my life. And I think that, to me, is work-life balance, not this separation which defines work is bad and life is good. It's one thing for me. And I think that's true for most people.
Yeah, that's beautiful, which is integrated rather than disintegrated,
That's
which
right.
is who wants to be disintegrated. Doesn't always sound that great.
That's right.
What about, you mentioned strategy, you're a strategic thinker. What, when it comes to marketing strategy, like how do you kind of put a definition to strategy? What's that term mean for you?
Yeah. So first it means the organization strategy, where are we headed and why are we headed there? And for OnSite, our mission is to really create transformational experiences that reconnect people to each other and bring dignity to humanity, right? And so how do we bring that to life in a vision? And for us, it's a continuum of care. Where are you on that continuum? What do you need? And then figuring out for each of our offerings who is the persona, who is the person. And then addressing them in ways that I think touch at their heartstrings. So when I left consulting and came to OnSite, number one thing that resonated with me is the 18 inches between your head and your heart. And in consulting, your expertise is on the head and not necessarily the heart. At OnSite, I'm able to connect both of those. And I think when you do that with your team members, it really unlocks all the capacity and the passion for doing what you're doing. And our staff, I would say 95% of them would say that they love their job because of the work we're doing for our clients.
Yeah, it sounds like an incredible place. Not perfect.
Perfect
I'm not suggesting perfect. And you're not in fact, you're suggesting it's not perfect. And,
That's right.
and the beauty is the real human work that goes into the head and the heart of real humans co-creating this environment together and having kind of that agency to say, this is the work I want to do. This is my work. This is our work. We can put these ideas on the table without clinging to them and make something better together.
That's right. And several years ago, Miles coined a phrase, healing hospitality. I'm sure he's not the only one who did that.
That's great.
But for us, that really means that we move beyond customer service and we move into creating an environment. First, if you see our properties, an environment and then interactions that really sort of give back dignity, respect, and sort of this restoration to our clients. And for us, it goes beyond typical customer service into an acknowledgement that every interaction we have with a client on our campus, whether it's our transportation people, our hospitality people, our culinary people, maintenance, it doesn't matter. All of us interact with our clients in some way. And that interaction creates an opportunity either to detract from their healing or enhance their healing. And we've recently put meat to the bones about what does healing hospitality mean and just moved our entire staff through a healing hospitality training.
Really?
About what does that mean, what does it feel like, and the training was very experiential for them to feel what we want our clients to feel.
Mm-hmm. Have you read anything by Will Guidara?
Yes.
On reasonable hospitality?
Yes.
Okay.
And Will came and spoke to us too, which we love.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Gosh.
And he's moved here.
He's amazing. He's moved to the Nashville market, and he ran a conference here that sold out in 2 minutes.
Oh my gosh.
And I think it was a $1,500 ticket. Sold out in 2 minutes. I talked to his agent.
Oh my gosh.
Which is, wow, there is this absolute hunger for hospitality and for what Will has taken from Danny Meyer and then built himself, his own. And I build my conferences and events around his tenets, mostly are my pillars of how I think about an event, where the space matters. And I'm not knocking a hotel ballroom at all. I just never want to spend time in one. And so where do I want to be that sets the stage for this conversation to happen? And it's worth it. It's worth it to find that. And then what experiences, we kind of say when it comes to events and conferences, like your brain can get kind of full, So we do try to feed the mind, but fill the heart.
That's right.
And then that fuels the connections. And one of the most impactful presentations I can remember was coming out of COVID. It was the first year after our event had gone virtual. We postponed a year, and then we're like, we need to rebuild this thing. I brought in a chief clinical officer to talk about shame at a marketing conference. Hear a pin drop.
I imagine.
Sniffles.
Oh my gosh.
It was like, it was so moving. I was like, this is important work.
Yes.
So when you're talking about trust in the workplace, that matters so much to connect with the human. I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, really, I can give you two. Wanda, who works in our culinary department, is listed every week as meaningful on client evaluations. Just their interaction with her in our culinary department, or somebody left something in one of the rooms. Our hospitality team knew that a client needed something and left it in their rooms. So it really is for us a holistic experience.
Yeah.
And it means in an organization that has, the highest trained clinicians to an hourly worker, that everybody has a responsibility in this client's healing journey.
Yeah.
And so how do we make it one that adds to the healing journey, not detracts from it?
I think Will Guidara and Miles Adcock should write a book. It would be the perfect
It would be
book
great.
too, from unreasonable hospitality to healing hospitality. That would blow up.
That was great.
That's great. Well, two questions before we go. One is related to that, which is there a book or a music album or a podcast that you're either taking in and enjoying, or is in your queue? Anything you're watching or reading?
Gosh. I listen to a lot of podcasts because I have to drive to OnSite every day, an hour trip there and back. So I love Rich Roll. I love Masters of Scale. I love some controversial shows, which I won't mention.
Sure.
On occasion. From a music perspective, I have a broad, but I love the Pilgrimage Festival here in the fall. It's one of my favorites to attend.
Yeah.
Last year I got to go to Coachella.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Which was fun. I'm too old for Coachella, but
Are you doing Bonnaroo next weekend? No? Okay.
I'm definitely too old for that.
I was gonna say Hosier was at Pilgrimage last year, and he's at Bonnaroo next, and that's one of my. I like him quite a bit. Yeah, but I range too musically. Yeah. It's like, I don't know. We don't need to define it. I like what I like.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then lastly, we ask a question called the Boost, which is there something you're doing for your own self these days, your own mental health or wellness, or something you're interested in trying out?
So I am pretty dedicated to working out every day, either doing cardio or lifting weights. I'm on the protein train.
Good for you. Yeah. Trying
to do that. I like, but don't do enough, cold plunges.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
May see that change it OnSite in short order, which would be great.
Yeah.
And other than that, I think spending time with friends,
Seriously.
That's restorative to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Talk about feeling seen and heard and valued.
Right. That's right.
You know, we see a lot with even peer recovery and, those kinds of groups, but it doesn't have to be so formal. Like our friends, they matter so much. Well, thanks for coming on the show. It's really a delight to talk with you. Thank you for being here. Yeah. That's all for now. Until next time.